I don't know whether you can consider this a clickbaity title, but honestly I don't care. Sue me, I want views. I also made it a clickbait title just to do a little social experiment on whether people click negative titles rather than positive ones, but we'll see. So this is a short video about some of the things that I found to be negatives around university, but more specifically these are probably more relatable to working class students and their experience at university. Now, from the title you'd probably think that I didn't enjoy university. No, I did. I loved my time at university. I enjoyed university thoroughly. It's just that this video I just wanted to cover some of the negatives about my university experience, and expect another video in the future about the positives. In the climate of social media and the climate of YouTubers, I feel like I have to specify that this is my opinion and it's perfectly okay to disagree, so feel free to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. That's enough of the formalities, so let's just get to it. So my first point is university as a concept within itself. Actually, you know what, let me give some space there. That's for this point is a little bit more broad and it's more about university as a concept within itself. I bring this up as my first point because I strongly believe that university isn't for everyone, which is perfectly fine. However, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like my sixth form shoved university down our throats, and their whole stance was basically you must go to university to ensure that you are successful in the future. It's important to note that at the time as a student, I probably did agree with their stance and I probably did agree with their approach, but I didn't know any better. I pretty much agreed with the sentiment that yes, we should all go to university and pretty much like what other options are there. However, after going through university and graduating and starting my role as a full-time software engineer, ooh, look at me, realistically, I didn't need to do my degree to do what I currently do for a living. Now, this is not me suggesting that I wouldn't have required specialist training to do what I do right now, but I don't think it was needed to go to university specifically to do what I actually do. And also, I believe that this is probably the case for a lot of jobs and a lot of industries that currently require you to do a degree. Again, this isn't a one-shoe-size-fits-all kind of scenario because I do acknowledge disciplines like medicine, dentistry, and many others do require some sort of university degree and it would benefit from doing a university degree. However, most disciplines, in my opinion, should not require a university certificate. Now, it's important to give a little balance to this argument. So from an employer's point of view, I can understand why you might lean towards your employee having a university degree because I guess it's the most objective way they can measure someone's intelligence levels and whether or not they possess like some of the intangible characteristics like determination, grit, discipline, yada yada yada. But because this is the most standardized way in England to essentially assess your employee candidates, this is probably more of a education structural problem within England. But these employers seeing university as essential to do their jobs is probably down to the educational structure in England rather than the employee's fault. And I believe that again, because university is not for everyone, these employers miss out on so many excellent candidates that don't have university degrees. So Germany famously has a system called the dual system. Within this system, they provide roughly 500,000 new apprenticeship contracts every year, and these apprenticeship contracts, unlike England, aren't looked down upon. They're seen as more equal to university degrees. They're just alternative pathways. Alternative? Doing YouTube makes you question the way you speak a lot. However, unlike the UK, these are more standardized apprenticeships, so they're more applicable to other jobs within the industry, unlike the sort of in-house company training that you do get with UK apprenticeships. For example, Mercedes-Benz offer like 2,000 apprenticeships every year, and they do like a course called mechatronics, which is basically a combination of mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. If you probably wanted to get that job, you'd probably have to do a 3 to 4 university course and then learn the in-job training. But the important thing to note that because this is such a legitimate pathway, it's seen as sort of an equal to university degree rather than the inferior counterpart. And going back to my opinion that I don't think university is for everyone, and a lot of people learn that university isn't for them whilst they make the mistake of going to university in the first place. I really feel that if colleges and sixth forms really push this as an option, and if the education structure pushes this as an option and a structure, more than they currently do, a lot of people would choose the right career path earlier on rather than having to spend a lot of years making up for the time that they lost going to university and trialing it out essentially. And again, Germany proves that this model can be successful because their workers are statistically more skilled and more productive than their UK counterparts. And I just think it's better for young people to do what they feel is more applicable to them rather than going into university half-hearted because they kind of have to. Now, on to my second point. The first thing that comes to mind for university for me is that university isn't worth 9 grand a year. And on top of that, for me, it wasn't just the tuition fee, it was the maintenance loan too, which totals up to a 72 grand worth of debt. The maintenance loan is obviously understandable because I needed it to survive in order to afford food, rent, even though rent and housing in university should be an entirely separate video because it's corrupt as fuck. Back to the point. I'm not a financial expert, but every time I try to rack my brains about what they could possibly spend not only my 9k on, but every other single student's 9k on. So going into maths mode. According to a few Googles, in 2018-2019, which is what I've got data for, there were 25,955 students at the University of Bristol, which is where I went. Now, of those 26,000, 18,980 were undergraduates and 6,975 were postgraduates. As I'm reading, if we go off those undergraduate figures alone, and I almost didn't believe this figure by the way, that's £170 million per year. That doesn't even include the fact that international students basically pay double. They pay 24,700 grand per year for my course alone. And after checking out some more figures about what international students have to pay for other courses, it roughly averages to about 20 grand. Considering that international students make up 11.7% of university, that's a lot of fucking money. And I know a lot of you will say that the government is paying for my education with a loan that doesn't affect my credit score and takes up a small percentage of my salary per month for 30 years. And whilst those are very good and valid points, however, like a lot of people, I hope to make enough money in my lifetime that I am comfortable enough, and which as an indirect consequence means that I pay a significant amount of that off, which is money that I could have done with. But my major problem isn't to do with the fact that I have to pay off this loan, it's more so to do with how that money is spent. Which brings me on to my third point. So according to some studies, apparently 45% of university yearly income is spent on the cost of teaching, which is largely made up of teaching salaries. And I don't think it's a secret when I say that a lot of lecturers view the teaching side of university as their side job in order to maintain their main interest, which is research, especially at Russell Group universities. And this is heavily reflected in the hiring process of lecturers because universities hire lecturers that can increase their research reputation rather than actually deliver quality content to students. Now, I'm not taking anything away from these guys because these guys are crazy smart and there's no denying that they're the subject expert. But fuck me, they don't know how to teach. How are you idiots failing to grasp that a qubit is a... How are you guys failing
to grasp that a qubit or the quantum bit is the basic unit of quantum information, the quantum version of the classical binary bit physically realized within two-state device?
Combining the fact that these lecturers aren't trained properly on how to teach and being incredibly smart at what they do, you kind of end up in a scenario where you have a lecturer that is unable to make eye contact with his students. Now, this is a true story, by the way. Now, students, how can you... Shut up, Divney! A qubit is a two-state, or should I say two-level, am I right? Haha. Quantum mechanical system. One of the simplest quantum systems displaying the peculiarity of quantum mechanics. Examples include the spin of an electron in which two levels can be taken as spin. And another consequence of a lecturer that has research as 99% of his or her motivation to lecture is that they neglect a lot of their responsibilities. For example, they delegate labs or seminars to their PhD students who excelled in their course but can't explain concepts as well as they probably might be able to. And also because they hate marking work, they do not mark work correctly. Me and my friend worked really hard on a unit called Web Technologies, and when we received our result, we received a 2-1, more specifically 67%. However, we felt that we deserved more, so we decided to go to the lecturer's office and ask basically why he can justify his mark. The geezer turned around and said, "Oh, I must have not looked at it properly, let me look at it again." And he literally rolled his glasses down, started looking at our work again, and within 5 seconds he was like, "Okay, no, this does deserve more, I'm going to give you a first." So all in all, university does gather lecturers that are subject matters at whatever relevant field they're in. However, they just don't hire good teachers. And by extension, that means that the students don't learn as effectively as they could. And for an institution that you pay $9,000 a year for in tuition fees, you'd expect their tuition to be a lot better than it already is. And there should be a lot of more standardization for how good of a lecturer that you have to be before actually getting hired. Now, for the sake of time, I don't want to make this video too long, so those are the 3 main things that I could think of. However, if you like this video, comment below and I'll try to make a part 2, because there are quite a few others that I've probably omitted. Before I end this video, I do want to mention that I did actually very much enjoy my time at university and would recommend it to everyone that wants to go. But it's just important sometimes to weigh your options before you actually commit, depending on your career goals. In one of the following videos, I will make a video explaining the positives around university, so hopefully you can wait on that before making a proper decision. But this was a video explaining some of the key things that I found to be negatives at university. I hope you enjoyed this video, and apologies for it getting dark because the natural lighting has disappeared. But that is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, like, comment and subscribe. But yeah, you can go back to whatever you were doing before.